Hey guys, what's cracking? What is crack-a-lacking? Gonna do us a little bit of a live stream here. I hope that this doesn't take too long because I know it's late. I get it. I was gonna go a little earlier, but we and my family, my wife, and my kids, my two sons and my daughter. My wife had some gift certificates left over from Christmas, and we drove out of town for, I don't know, an hour or so and got some dinner. And yeah, so that's what I was doing. I came back. I was trying to get on before Marf went live, guys. But you know I won't. If Marf is already live, I typically will wait until he's done. That's a respect thing. And yeah, if everybody in the community really tried to do that, we'd all be better for it, you know. There are times, I will say. Yeah, exactly, Matthew. Thank you for that. There are times that we can't avoid it. You know, when there's something big going on, it really doesn't, it almost doesn't, as far as where everybody's looking and watching, most everybody's talking about the same thing, right? So that's what I'll say. But yeah, hey, Mindful. And by the way, guys, please get over, and I know Matthew's in here. I see Matthew Shipley here in the chat. He's a great guy. Please go check out his channel. And I don't say that just because Matthew's an awesome person, but the fact of what he does over there is, yeah, you don't get that kind of quality hardly anywhere else. I'll just say that. I'm talking like high-end graphics. The time he's put into all that, it's just amazing. It really, truly is. I think he has, Matthew, you can correct me if I'm wrong here on this, but I think you can broadcast out in 8K. There's no way in heck I could do anything like that where I'm at. But the graphics and stuff he's put together, and the way that he's got his it's a 24-hour live stream he runs with space weather conditions, and he shows a lot of the models that I show, but he put it together in his own way, and it's really well done. So if you guys don't know, he's in here, so just go check his channel out. I talk about him. He's in my awesome channel list anyway. So anybody in that list, I would you know, I would encourage people to go check him out. Okay, so with that being said, I was going to do a members only stream today, but that didn't happen because of what I just spoke about. But also, guys, we got a geomagnetic storm, and I'm not trying to make a huge deal about this. Okay, I know it kind of seemed like that in the. I really, I could have played that title up so much more, and I don't. I really try not to do that. And I've talked about the thumbnails and the titles before. They are really there to grab new people's attention. So if I put it in my title, I will 100% talk about it. Okay? I'm not going to do a quote unquote clickbait where they just throw something out there and it doesn't have anything to do with what they're talking about. That's what, clickbait is. Now, when we kind of, I guess, take some, who knows, take some liberty into, like, the thumbnails and stuff like that, mine are very, very mild that way. You can go to other channels, and you can definitely see the other side of that. But it's there to try to grab somebody's attention. That's the point of it. So if everybody's already watching that's here, it's already been here multiple times, and just part of the, the Kool-Aid Krew and everybody just hanging out, it really truly is for those newer people, so they can come in here and grab them in for a minute, and maybe they'll see what we're doing here is a little different than what you see anywhere else. Like Matthew said a minute ago, family first, and, when you consider something family, that's what you do. You take care of it. And so hopefully they kind of see that kind of environment here, and because that's what I try to do. That's the exact reason I will never, ever, ever, ever allow any negative talk about any other channel in the chat. My mods know this. It's just, you can't do it. It's just, number one, they're not here to defend themselves. That's one of the biggest reasons. Now, I'm not saying you can't disagree with people. If it's respectful, okay? But, especially if you're coming at me, I let people come at me all the time, and I've dealt with that live, right? But when it's somebody that's not here, it doesn't need to be said. It's not going to help anything. Only possible thing that can do is hurt. That's it. There is no other thing it can do other than nothing. Nothing, or it hurts. There's nothing from that can be good. So, there's my little rant. So, I'm going to move on to the space weather. Okay, but with that being said, this was a very, I know I used the word controversial in the title and in the thumbnail. And to be frank with you, it kind of was. I mean, people were really going back and forth on this in some of the social media sites. And obviously, I stay out of that. I don't really care about that stuff. Just not what I do. I like the nowcast, and, because everybody has opinions, and I shared with you guys my opinion yesterday on this solar storm. And it just so happens this time, I was kind of on the correct side. That's all. I'm not sitting there saying, oh, look at me, I did this right. Wasn't nothing like that. I didn't get it exactly right, and I never thought I would. It never happens, especially during solar maximum. Anybody that's looking at this stuff, there are so many eruptions going on. We would be crazy to think that some of the models aren't going to get jacked up sometimes. Some of people just misreading what's going on there. And somebody like me, I don't have any higher education in this, and I have really truly tried to learn as much as I can. And that's why I did choose the nowcast and not try to tell people what's going to happen 35 days from now. I just don't, yeah. Now, when you're looking at cycles, like trying to see historic data, putting patterns together and stuff like that, that's very helpful to do that. But to try to tell somebody we got a G5 that's going to hit at 3:04 and 55 seconds in the year 2029 with, with a full moon, and, it's a super moon that night too, and I mean, I could keep going on here. I see people out there doing that kind of thing, and you're only right one time. Every other time you try to say stuff like that, you're wrong. And anyway, I'm sorry. I know I ranted on there for a minute, and probably longer than a minute. That ended up being almost 8 minutes. So there's my 8 minutes of rant. I'm moving on. Sorry, guys. Okay, so what are we talking about here? Well, we did get this little geomagnetic storm right here. Okay, that again, this can be argued where that came from. Personally, I kind of spoke to you guys yesterday about what I thought was going on, because we did have a longer duration flare, and the reason, this is another reason. Let me explain. I'm gonna go here for a minute. Hey, Kay, thank you so much for that. Anybody that gets those memberships, please tell Kay thanks for that. Hey, Stephen A got one. You know what else Stephen got today? You know what Steven got today? He got that blue wrench. So there you go. So anyway, I try not to concentrate on the chat. You guys know that. But again, I do think that's what kind of makes my channel a little different than a lot of others. It's the connection I have with you guys, and it really keeps me going. I know that. But thank you, Kay. That's very generous. Thank you. And again, who got those? Let's see here. Daryl got one. Miss V got one. Angela got. Steven got one. Big Daddy got one. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. Okay. Those that are maybe got a new membership or something like that, try out some of the special emojis that the members actually chose. About half of those I made them during a members only stream. I let them pick. Matter of fact, I think Ilea made the first one when I did that. It's a little dragon. It's pretty cool. You guys should check that stuff out. It's pretty neat. You know, and I know it might seem trivial to a lot of people, but it is something special, you know. It's something to not, you know, it's just cool stuff. That's all. Okay, so back to this space weather, if I can stay focused. Okay, I am going to not look at the chat for a minute, but thank you, Ilea, for texting me. I thought Marf wasn't done yet, so I was going to wait till 12:30. So I'm kind of here a little bit early, but it is what it is. So we do have some more flaring, right, guys? And if we look at the forecasting here, they are saying a 75% chance of M-class flares. R1, R2 radio blackout storms takes an M-class flare, okay? Now, when you start talking R3, that is the bottom start of a very low-level X-class flare, okay? That's an elevated number, too. If anybody watches these forecasts like I do, you'll most likely agree with me here, because that typically stays at, most of the time, it's sitting at 1%. Okay? And it'll bump up to 5. It kind of fluctuates. Sometimes you'll see a 10 once in a while. But when you start seeing 35, that's actually fairly significant percentage when we're talking about that. And that's why I wanted to bring that up. There is a decent chance we could see more X flaring. Okay? But what I'm going to do now, and again, I ran right in and started trying to get this live stream set up, and it's not really set up the way I wanted to have it just be able to roll with you guys. So some things are going to have to load on us here. But while ISWA is loading, I'm going to take you guys over here to seeds. And, okay, so let me say this. When you come over here, what I'm going to be showing you is images from LASCO C2, and that's on that particular imager is on the SOHO Observatory. It's a satellite that sits about 1 million miles closer to the sun, and it orbits with us, okay? So it always stays in that position. It's out in front of the Earth all the time looking at the sun. Something very cool that SOHO does is we see, and especially the LASCO instruments, they pick up sun divers really, really well. They really do. You'll see these little dots, and a lot of people miss them because that's really what they are. You see a little dot. And unless you're looking at these models a lot, like those of us that do the space weather thing, you're most likely going to miss them. But with that being said, we have had quite a few sun divers, or quote unquote sun grazers. There's a difference. A sun grazer basically is a comet that grazes the sun and it stays in orbit around the sun and doesn't get ate up. Okay? Sun diver is exactly what it sounds like. It starts diving into the sun. Most of the time, it never ever gets to the surface because the sun eats it up before it gets there. But that's still considered a sun diver. Okay? I get that question quite a bit. And something interesting when I'm talking about like that, the comet thing, Comet 12P, Pons Brooks, it's got an anti-tail right now. And that happens when Earth crosses over when the comet itself crosses over the equatorial plane. Okay? Basically, it's it's horizontal at the same position as we are in relation to the sun. Okay? So what that means is we see an anti-tail, and then what it's not a real thing. It's an optical illusion. Okay? You know what? I think Dr. Tony Phillips actually explained it in his last article. So if you guys go over there, and we'll check out spaceweather.com here in a minute anyway. But so let me take you to when these eruptions happened. And remember, this is from our perspective. Is this thing really going to be this slow? Let's check something here. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't dropping frames because that was moving kind of slow. I know why, though. I had you guys over here at ISWA. Okay. Why is that white? White? Okay, there it goes. Sometimes when I'm trying to load a bunch of movies at the same time, it'll do this. So I'm going to go through here and pause this real quick. I don't have a very... well, the computer I'm using right now is not necessarily the best setup for a streamer. I really need to have multiple cards of RAM. It would be great to have like a 4-thread, but I'm not going to get into that kind of a detail right now. But that does affect when your computer starts messing up, especially when you're streaming. It takes a lot to stream, guys. If you think about what you're doing there, you're actually uploading things, and uploading things is so much slower than downloading them. So we'll just say that. And anybody that streams probably already knows all that. So, okay, so we're gonna go here, and this is on the 1st, and it's still running slow. Wow. Okay, but you're seeing the eruptions there. Okay. What is interesting is we are missing some time over on Stereo A. We got it all here, so that's not what I'm talking about. But we are missing some time there, but we're able to figure it out using Stereo A also. But I explained yesterday, and I want to explain this again, because we have this bigger eruption. We've been having a lot. Solar Maximum's been very active, okay? And I'm not sure if we're exactly into Solar Maximum yet. So we're headed that way. If we're not there, we'll stay there for however long, and then we'll move back down the hill on the other side. That stuff doesn't really even get decided till after it happens. They have to go back and look at the data to really figure out when the sun cycle restarts and all that kind of thing. It's kind of like, like with a tornado. Everybody's heard of the Fujita scale, and now it's the EF scale. Okay. They don't decide how strong a tornado is until they go look at the damage. So we don't even know, Obviously, they're trying to determine wind speed by what kind of damage it causes. And it's kind of, I guess kind of similar to what I'm talking about here. Not all the way, but a little. Now, with these difference imaging, okay, these are coronagraphs. And oftentimes it's hard to tell if you're seeing 1 or 2 eruptions or you're seeing a ghosting image from the imager itself. And I explained this a little bit yesterday. And I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about this, but I do want you guys to understand that when we see these like that, okay, most of us know if we see that is an eruption starting. How do I know that? Well, first off, they're trying to mark it here, and that's what it does. Hey, Pam B, thank you. Appreciate that. For sure, 100%. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I'm here to be able to give you the updates, Pam. I really am. But anyway, so when we see these things, those of us, again, that do the space weather thing here, know what to kind of like look at to see if it's going to be something bigger or different than what we're seeing here. And I can tell you when I look at this occulter disk is a physical object, right? It's there to block most of the light of the sun so the imager can do anything at all. Without that, it'd be like you going outside without a sun filter, pointing your camera at the sun and trying to snap a picture. It ain't going to happen. Okay, so that's kind of what I'm talking about. So this is a real disc, right? It's a physical disc. Now, the one thing I want to point out again, and I point this out often, that is the surface of the sun, or it's trying to represent the surface of the sun, this white circle. So the occulter disk, what they've done is they tried to cover up the corona also, or at least a lot of it, because that's where a lot of the light's coming from. Okay, so that's why that's like that. With that being said, there is a time that it takes when something erupts to go from here to here. That affects the timing. Okay, now over here on Soho, what they're going to do, they're going to give you a time frame on the tracker. And let me tell you what I'm talking about here. Okay, down here on the bottom, you can scroll down and it will, anytime it sees an event or thinks there's an event, it will highlight it. Okay, sometimes you'll see them in red. I think some of them are orange. Other ones are, well, here's your key. Okay, so the wider they are, they move toward a red color when it comes to this. So when I'm talking about the time, they're saying that that's the time that it starts. Well, that's the time that this instrument's seen it. So there is a little bit of time that you have to backtrack if you're going to look at like SDO and look and see the flare itself. There's going to be some time there. And that's going to differ a little from CME to CME. That's just what happens. It's just how it works. So if we come down here, and this was, I believe, yeah, see 6-1. See how it says 1900? Okay, so there's that, right? That's the same thing I just showed you, but I was showing you guys on the full day run, and we're going to go back to that. But with this image right here, when that happened, if you look around the occulter disk, you can see how it's bright. Very little, but it's almost like it outlined the occulter. Usually when we see that, that was probably from a flare, okay? It's just now seeing, the imager is just now kind of seeing it. So let me, I'll go forward here. And again, it's not going to see a whole lot of it because number one, it's moving very, very fast. It's moving at the speed of light. So it's just barely catching it, right? It takes 8 minutes for that stuff to get here. And it's a little bit less when you're talking Soho because it's 1,000,000 miles closer to the sun. But what I was explaining yesterday, you get the initial blast out here, but a lot of people would think that this is another blast, and it could be, I guess. But sometimes when we see that, it can be a ghost image. Because if you roll this back, you see that? That almost mirrors that. Okay? So we do see that sometimes. So that's just what I'll say. Yeah. And again, guys, there's a whole lot of stuff we could dig into here. I'm not going to analyze it like that, like I did yesterday, because it does take quite a bit of time. But I'm just showing it to you now so you know where this stuff is coming from. And obviously, like I said before, this was a very highly argued whether this thing was going to hit or whether it even went off the backside. Now, personally, I never thought it went that direction because on my first live stream I did on this, right when it first happened, I pretty much timed it out. And I showed you guys. You guys walked through that with me. It wasn't the last live stream, but it was the one before. I actually played a little bit of that yesterday for you guys. And and I'm saying this because I want people to understand that it took me a long time to be able to trust myself enough to kind of just say that. And that's my goal for you guys. I really want people to be able to come over here, look at these models, and know when Wages World isn't here. When, you know, God forbid, maybe something happens and the internet is just blowed up. Matthew can't show you nothing. I can't show you nothing. I mean, what are you going to do, right? So you got to kind of move around. I guess internet would be the wrong thing to lose there, but because nobody would be able to see things. But on that off chance I couldn't get out here, at least you guys could know. And what that does, the biggest thing that does for me, guys, it lets me know that you guys aren't going to be in fear. I hate that. I hate that part of space weather. There's always that gloom and doom part that everybody, you know, goes there immediately. Now, here's the thing. It most certainly can be. we know that that kind of stuff is going to happen again. The G5 storm we just got about a month ago now, I guess, was stronger than what they were forecasting. Now, is that abnormal? No. It's not abnormal for them to not get it completely correct. I mean, nobody really had it completely correct. I would argue that all the way. But what I think was coming good from what was happening yesterday, where everybody was arguing back and forth, is that started conversation. And that's what science is, guys. Okay? And that's why I'm pointing this out right now. You can't... It started conversations about a subject that a lot of people that were watching and listening had no idea about until then. So that is a positive thing that comes from that. And if that stuff stays respectful, it's a very healthy thing. Because in those situations, a lot of times, not one person is 100% correct, or the other one isn't 100% correct. And guess what? That means they both were correct, but they both were wrong. So, and it starts all this stuff, and then we actually learn something from that. Both sides. And that, to me, that is what's good about what happened with all the controversial stuff. I will not participate in that stuff, and I know you guys know that already. So with that being said, I'm not going to go back and re-show you what we're going to do. I'll tell you what I'll do here, because I'll just pull up SDO. And I do want to show you the flare that kind of sparked all this stuff off, okay? Let's just use the 131. Well, yeah. I don't know if I want to use that one or not. Let's use the 94, because we're looking at a flare. Okay, we'll let that load. Actually, I guess I could have just went here. Yeah. Give me a break, guys. Give me a break. How far does that go? Okay. I'm not going to be able to show you very well on the 211, because what I want to show you doesn't show up very well. Now, remember, we're going to be looking at extreme ultraviolet, okay? And they put a filter on it so we can see it. And they use we see very little of the light spectrum with our eyes. So they put an extreme ultraviolet filter on it, and what they're doing is they're singling out gases. And they can assign this any color they want, okay? I can actually show you that again if you want me to. Because I'll show it to you from two different satellites right here. That's the same angstrom. 171. Okay? This satellite here on the left is SDO, and this one's SOHO. This imager, guess what, is the one I just showed you here. It's this. Has a coronagraph and extreme ultraviolet on the same tool, okay? On the same satellite. That's what I'm trying to say. But you see how they assigned it two different colors? But it's the exact same gas, exact same part of the light spectrum. So I think it's important to understand that. And hopefully everybody does. And I know most of you guys already do. Okay? I get that. So, what are we looking at here? Well, what we're going to be looking at, guys, is I guess we'll go back here to SDO for this. Seeing how I already pulled it up. Again, it's this particular area of the sun. It's actually this one, I think. We're just not far enough in time there. Or were we? We'll just do it this way. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be able to show it to you. We'll see. No, I got to go back further, I think. Let's see how much it gets of it. Yeah. Okay, so that did not take us back far enough. And I want to point out something else while we're right here. This just happened also. Watch right here as I roll this back and forth. I noticed that when I was setting up for this, and I'll show you again. But there looks to be like a magnetic filament maybe, or maybe just one of the arches that we see. And you're going to see highly charged particles moving. But let me walk this backwards, because you can see that that almost looked like a CME. But I don't know that any of that left, because it looked like it all got traveled right back to the sun. You see that? So I can't really give you 100% on that. I do want to go back further, though. Okay, let's just go over here to ISWA. I'm just going to use this. I don't like using the SDO site. Number one, on the SDO site, believe it or not, you get higher definition over here on ISWA. The picture's clear. So let's go ahead and load this one and see if we got back far enough on this one. Okay, yeah, that'll work. So I'm going to show you the flare again, because, and I'm not going to like show you this specific time. You see it says 1800, okay? So let me click that, like that. Okay, now, you see how that flare almost started immediately? Right? So when I showed you guys the x-ray that was over on Space Weather Prediction Center, NOAA, when I showed you guys that was, it lined up. The timing lined up perfectly. Okay? So, when I first seen it on seeds, right here, okay? When I seen that, that's the first thing I typically will do. I will run over to the extreme ultraviolet, right? And see if I can see a flare or a CME firing off. And if that's the case and the timing's lining up, I almost will just pretty much by default, and it's not really a good practice to do what I do. And let me explain. We'll look at that, and if there's a flare that happened at that exact same time, then we're going to assume that it came from that area, right? But what we don't consider most of the time, and what we don't consider most of the time, is the fact that there could actually be an eruption at the exact same time doing similar things on the backside of the sun. Okay, it happens. It doesn't happen like that all the time, but when we're in solar maximum, we are getting so many eruptions. This is why it becomes very hard to forecast. And so that's what I'll say on that end of it. But, and that's something I have to change for myself. I can't just assume, right? That's not something I should be doing when I'm trying to figure out exactly where this came from. It just so happened that it ended up being correct this time, but it doesn't, to me, that's not why I'm saying it. I'm saying it so I want you guys to know I learned something about what I was doing that I shouldn't be. Even though I was correct on where this came from, I was incorrect in the fact that I didn't even consider that we could have had one coming off the back. And that's a mistake. I shouldn't do that. And I bring that out to you guys so you guys can see me make my mistake, and maybe you won't make the same. Hey, Ron, good to see you. Who's in there? Look here, main phase. What's up, Miss V, Monk, Daryl, Wharton? Hey guys, give me a roll call in there. Sorry guys, I had the chat moved away here. I had to move chat away so I don't squirrel. So, so if anybody was talking to me in there, I might have missed you. All right, so I'm gonna keep moving as you guys give me a roll call, and I just want you guys to be able to see this. So what we're seeing here, guys, is an initial blast. Okay, let me take it back to the beginning of this. Okay, right there. So you get the initial blast, right? And you see it kind of calm down, right? Right, about like that. Then watch what happens. You see a secondary surge. So what was going on here, and I actually already talked about this. Oh, Matthew, what you got, Matthew? If you could put it back in there, and I'll try to look at it. Thank you, Ricky, for saying that. I'm going to keep moving until I can see something from you, brother. All right. So anyway, you see a secondary surge. So what that ended up being was it like an X. I don't think it was an X1. It was lower than an X1, I think. And then we had like an M7 flare or M8, something like that. I'll tell you what, we can look real quick, I guess. Well, I'm not going to waste time doing that. Anyway, we had an X flare and an M flare. Oh, you want me to pull up your channel? Hold on one second, Matthew, before you do that. Shoot. I don't have my computer set up. I'm on a different computer. Ah. Sorry, man. Thanks for the offer, though. Guys, sir, I tell you what we can do. I tell you, yeah, I guess I could go to your, yeah, hold on. Give me 1 second. I can do it. What the heck am I talking about? Let's just do it this way. Yeah, for sure. If you want to pull it up, you can, Matthew. It's up to you, bud. I can pull up your channel right here. I didn't quite understand it. It took me a second to catch that. Okay. Live right there. Okay. Deep Quake, what's up? What's up, Deep Quake? What's going on, buddy? So this is Matthew's channel, guys. Just the first look, you gotta understand. It's amazing stuff. I love it. So anyway. Yeah, don't like put yourself out there at all, Matthew, either. I mean, I don't want to make you have to do a whole lot of jumping through hoops or anything, but let me know when you get that. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Adam. Hey, man, good to see you in here. Thanks for stopping by, brother. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and again, guys, please check this Matthew out. Go over and check out Marf. If you guys don't know who Marf is, you probably already do, okay? And I know I say that a lot, but I do think it's important for us to keep mentioning, because you're going to get people in here from time to time that doesn't know who Marfugal TV, Adam and Dex. So please go over and check them out. If you guys are new here, please go check out Marf. I actually waited till his stream is over so I could do mine. We kind of have that respect for each other. Man, no truer words have been said, man. Oh, my gosh. The sun is beautiful, right? Oh, I got to push play. Sorry, Matthew. You might already have it up. Yep, there it is. There it is. Yeah, I guess I could have pushed play. So, this is the same sunspot I just showed you guys. Well, let me do this real quick. This one is the same thing that Matthew has pulled up right here. Okay, and you're getting to see it. What's cool about this is he's zoomed in and he has the ability to have that high resolution 8K stuff. So zooming in like this doesn't kill the image. If I was to try to do that, the detail just goes completely away. So thanks, Matthew, for doing that. That's really cool. But you can see two different surges. So basically what I'm saying is you got two different flares. Now it seemed to be one, but especially the second one, was long duration. I'm talking like 3-4 hours, something like that. And typically with those, you will see CMEs. So that was another thing I was considering when I was looking at it, right? I'm looking at this thing and it's long duration, and I'm having a hard time thinking there's no way that did not produce at least a small CME. You know what I mean? And I'm sure it's possible. It probably happens all the time. But with a stronger flare and long duration at the same time, that's almost a guarantee it's going to push some plasma out. Okay. I would say very few and far between that doesn't happen. Now, listen, if it's impulsive, which in my opinion, that first flare was, if we didn't get that secondary M-class flare from that, we may not have seen a CME, because it was straight up and straight down. It was going its way back down when it surged again. Okay? So the impulsive ones, you don't typically see these big old blasts from. The long duration ones have a better chance of getting stuff out that will actually leave the sun. The sun recaptures a lot of the stuff that we see. Thank you, Matthew, for doing that. I really appreciate you. Okay, so let's go back over here to this, because I do want to show you the sunspot itself. And what's happening here, guys, it does seem to be degrading. In other words, it's starting to die, I guess. Now, don't get me wrong, it can surge back up and really become a monster again. Okay? But what I'm seeing here, and I looked at this earlier, This is the sunspot, right? You're starting to see these other ones pop up. So, again, those things we're going to have to watch. Now, remember with the G5 storm from almost a month ago, it was this sunspot and this sunspot that caused all of it. And we did get a CME from, I believe it was this one when it was over here. Because this one was over here back about 3 or 4 days ago. There was a secondary CME, and I think on the NASA spiral, I explained this yesterday. Let me show you the model I'm talking about. Okay, let's go over here to, yeah, there it is. Okay, this is the NASA Enlil spiral, and the only bad thing about this one, and it makes it a little difficult on us because this one will reset when it sees another CME. It won't show you the one before it. It just shows the one. So, why the best one for us to look at in that sense is the one over here at NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center. Okay, this one. And this one hadn't updated yet. This one has now. Okay, but when all that stuff was going on, people were trying to figure out what was happening. The NASA model came out with a big blast going off the backside. And this one hadn't updated yet because it was the weekend. Guys, people man these models, okay? So if they've got the weekend off, I mean, and I'm sure that there's situations where they have to have protocol in place to where something big happens. They come in and, and they do all that stuff, right? But, look, people have to have days off. But anyway, you can see, right? So there's that CME. That's exactly what they're saying right there. So what's happened here is it did go a little south. You can see where it's going a little south of us. These are side cuts, right? Now you're looking at our inner solar system from the top down when you're looking at these. Or this one might look from the bottom up. I can't remember. Either way, you're able to see east-west, okay? So let's see here. No, which one's the red dot? Is that stereo A or... I think stereo B is red on that one. Okay, so yeah, so we would be looking from the top down. Okay, so anyway, we can tell east-west from the top-down version. Now, we used to be able to really have a really good grasp, because I said this yesterday on my stream. If stereo A, let me show you where stereo A is at, okay? Stereo A is sitting right here right now. It used to be way over here. If it was still sitting over here, none of this conversation would be happening. And the reason why is because then we would have a side view of the sun. And we could see if it went off the front or the back. But because that satellite has outlived its life expectancy, it should have already been just done, guys. It really has. And that's why they allowed it to come on back and it's hanging out here. So basically what's happening now is it's giving us another look from our perspective, just slightly askew. It's kind of over here. So you're not going to get the exact perspective as you would from SOHO. So, and the other thing that's happening, at least over here on Seeds, we're not getting much data a day from it. I mean, we're getting like 5 or 6 hours at most, okay? And that's a typical day. So I don't know exactly why that is. I really don't. But what I will say, there are other places we can look. And this is where I think people must start making mistakes because they're not looking everywhere for the data. The data's there. And let me see if I can't find it. Okay. Now, guys, let me say this. What the heck happened there? Hold on a minute. I had a... Hold on 1 second, guys. I had one of my screens blacked out on me for some reason. We'll let it boot back up. Okay, but anyway, I can keep moving here. So, this used to be SETI. We used to come over to SETI and see this kind of stuff all over the place. Okay, we had all these cool tools over there, right? You see where it says behind? They're talking about stereo behind. We haven't had that data for multiple years. That satellite had its issue, okay? They lost contact with it for over a year, I think, and they finally regained contact with it, but we don't get to see the data from that. If it's even able to, I think they can still get data from it, but it's not operating like it should, okay? I'm not even sure if it's still out there. I'm assuming it's there unless they've done something with it. But anyway, what we can do is we can come over here and look at stereo A data too. This is stereo A right here. And I'm going to show you the same kind of imaging, but it's different. So I'm going to go to the Core 2, right? I'm going to go to the Core 2 RD right here. And so we're going to look at the same dates here. And I got to, yeah, let's do this. 2024 06. I guess what day it was on the 1st. Okay, yeah, we'll do that. And some guys, the only bad thing about this one, you do get on some of the tools you're trying to see, it'll be a 3-day lag. Okay, they have like a 3-day lag built in, so that's a downfall to what I'm talking about here. So let's just do 03. It's not a big deal. Okay, and you always want to click slideshow. Okay, search. So this is a little different, right? But we're going to be able to see it a little bit better than what we did on the other one. And so let me, I'm just going to let this thing play for a minute and take you guys to the, because let me say this before this keeps playing. A lot of times I will show you guys this one, right? Or I'll look at it and I'll be like, man, that's missing data, right? So then I come over here and it's there. So what I'm pointing out here, guys, these are websites. These are hubs. This is not the origination of the data. Okay? They're just allowed to use it, and this is how they post it. So if it's not something going on their end on the website, you won't be able to see it. But the data is still there. And sometimes it's missing, and in this case, it doesn't seem like we're missing a whole lot. We were, okay, but today when I looked at it again, most of that data was there. So what I'll do here is I'll stop it once we get back around to where that came from. It's about there. Okay, so you see that? I pointed this out yesterday. You see that eruption right there? It is, well, that's stereo A again. Yeah, it's going to be the same, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway, that initial blast right there. I think that was it. Hold on. Maybe it was the next one. Right there. You see that one? That blast there is the same as this. So they're two different satellites. So what's that do is you can kind of see how the angle is just a touch off, right? So it does give us a little bit of a skewed look, but there's not enough really here to draw conclusions. And that's my point. But what I want to say is the data is there. There it is. That was not there yesterday, okay? The data was there. They just probably had to recover it and make sure it wasn't corrupted. They have to do that sometimes. It's just what happens. It's there now. We're able to see it. So as you can tell, that's a full halo. And with the majority of it going this way. So again, I do think that this kind of helps confirm things. That this is coming at us. And this is my opinion, guys. But fortunately, I think I was correct this time. And NOAA's actually saying the same thing now with this updated model. All right, so I do think, and I don't think this is a massive thing. It looked like it could have been, but I think this is, without being, and I told you guys that when I first reported on this, It did look like a couple different blasts, and it was. But the direction of when it's hitting and the timing of it is not going to be conducive of giving us that big G3 like we were all talking about at first. So, let me look at the chat. I seen R2D2 and BB-8 in the chat, and I had to stop. I am a Star Wars freak, guys. You have no idea. Yeah, Matthew. And I think that some people that report on this don't do that. They don't go look at that stuff. And let me say this: I'm not taking a shot at people that do that. I do think that some people are, and like myself, I had to learn to do that kind of thing. And it took me a while. And what I want to say first and foremost, when we're talking about this stuff, we most certainly have to have patience. Okay? Unless it is going to be that massive whatever getting here in 5 hours type of eruption, we have time. Okay? We have time to talk about it. What's that time do for us? It allows us to wait for the data. Because you're not going to get real time on any model you go to. Everything has at least a little bit of a lag. So that's what I'll point out there. Now, I also want to show you guys one more tool that I think is very useful. And the reason why I say this is because this allows us to see things in a little bit more detailed, more real time, like I just said. Typically, when we look at the geomagnetic activity, we're looking at this, right? This is the KP number. And a KP of 5 starts G1 storm. It's just an indice. That's how they measure it, okay? So a KP of 5 goes G1, and as it goes up, so do the storm levels. But what's important to know is these right here, these bars, those are 3-hour averages. And they recently started putting 5 and negative and 5 and plus, depending on where they're at. Okay? So let me just say that. That wasn't always like that. They didn't always do that. Now, again, 3 hours for what we're talking about, 99% of the time is awesome, right? But if you come over here to the German site, you got the HP, which is for all intents and purposes, it's the same indice, but it's a 30-minute increment. Okay, so you're getting a data drop here every 30 minutes instead of every 3 hours. So what's just happened is 100% true right here, right? But again, that's an average. Now, you heard people saying, and I think I even showed it to you guys, that the KP went up to like a KP of 11 during that G4 storm. They were using this. I showed you this. And it got up to 11 for a very, very brief amount of time. It was only 1 bar. And remember, this is 30 minutes, not 3 hours. There's a big difference there. So we have to understand that. But it does give us a more like real-time and more detailed look, in my opinion, that we can sit here and say, hey, we've seen this flare. The CME that's hitting us now, we're seeing, that. And then we see a little bit of a drop. And then with the next CME or whatever next we're going to get, we would expect to see another surge and another uptick in the KP, right? We can just see that more and more detailed on the HP. Now they have an HP 60 too, right here. This is an hour. They also have the KP. So you get to see all of it right here. But again, it's whatever you guys prefer, honestly. It's not wrong to use this. I don't want anybody thinking that. I usually use this all the time. So I just want people to understand that. But there's a difference there. And I know graphs isn't the most exciting thing to look at. But what I will say, guys, this is our sun. These are sunspots. This right here, you can do this in your backyard. You hear me that, right? You guys hear that? It should never have been any more evident than when we had our eclipse back in April, that you can see sunspots from the ground with your naked eye, with the proper equipment, glasses. Okay? So I want everybody to understand that too. We get a lot of questions on this, that, or the other. And who do we trust? Who do we do this? Well, if that's an issue, what I do, okay? I'm serious. If you're questioning something, go outside and look at it yourself. You can. You don't have to use anybody else's equipment. You can prove it to yourself. You don't have to use satellite imagery. You can go outside with eclipse glasses and look up at the sun, because guess what? Dr. Carrington did something very similar with a telescope. And that's where, I know that Carrington event here, Carrington event before. And it's a good landmark to talk about, because that's where we started figuring out, hey, a flare is different than a CME. It's not the same. So anyway, I want you guys to understand that. So if you question that kind of stuff and you're really having an issue with that, please go outside and look. Go look. They were selling eclipse glasses for like $3. And you might even find that you have a passion for this. You might go out and get you a telescope and really get into this stuff. Also, when you're looking up at these things, you see how this is vertical? You guys know why this stays vertical? It's because they're using an equatorial mount. This becomes a question also, and I don't want to dig into this conversation too far, but without an equatorial mount, every one of these sunspots would appear to roll. Okay? But it's just from our perspective. The sunspots aren't rolling. It's us. We're moving. The angle at which we're seeing these things is changing constantly, and it's different for where you're standing at on the planet. Your latitude matters. Okay? And the same thing when looking at anything in space. That's why we see star trails when people are taking pictures of stars. If they don't have an equatorial mount, that's what you're going to get with long exposures. Okay? And you know what's cool though? I don't know if I have it on this particular. Let's see if I do. Ha! I think I do. Let's see here. Nope, it's on my other computer. Sorry. NASA, actually, believe it or not, they put out a book on how to, get this guys, how to view all this stuff with your phone. They give you instructions on how to do it, and they include the instructions on how to figure for field rotation, because that's what this is. The field rotation, by and far, is really basically parallactic angle is causing that, and I'm not going to get into all that because it becomes a big subject. But remember, guys, if you go outside and you look at the sun, say you looked at this timestamp right here, and you live in a part of the world right now that it's daytime, if you went out and looked at the sun, these sunspots are probably going to be in a different position because this is using an equatorial mount. And what that does is it actually rotates depending on where you set it. So for each latitude, you have to set it for your latitude. And so it will actually move the whole telescope or binoculars or camera, whatever you got, it will rotate it for you to keep this image vertical. Without that, these sunspots would leave trails behind them and they would rotate. Just like with the stars. We've all seen those, pictures of the North Pole with this, looking at Polaris, and then all the stars have a big, just like, I don't know, it's all washed out with the circles of light. Those are star trails. So anyway, we will, let's go ahead and, let's do this real quick. Now, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you guys one more thing here. And thanks for being here for so late. I know it's late, guys. I get it. And it's my fault because I wasn't expecting to be gone as long as I was with my family. But like Matthew said earlier, and I know Adam's told me this 1,000 times. Actually, we talked on the phone the other day. And, you know, family's always first. No matter what, I wasn't going to miss that. So, that's why. But I do apologize because I was trying to get on here earlier and I just couldn't make it happen. And so that's just why. And I don't regret it. I'll just say that. I'm just sorry that it happened, guys. All right. Let's go ahead and what I want to do, guys, is let's and I wish I had some other, because we just don't have a whole lot of man, hold on. Okay, so this is the Discover data. This is space weather data. And I'm not going to bore you with another graph and a chart here. But I want you guys to understand. Please come over here and check this out. All these links are in my description. You see these purple bars over here? What's that doing? What that is doing, it's indicating that our BZ is at a -6 or more negative position. And I'm not going to get into detail what the BZ is. But it's the threshold we look for is -6 on that. And when we get to -6, we really do accept a whole lot of geomagnetism. In other words, if we're at a -6 when the CME hits, it tends to put us into storms. Okay? And the further negative you go, typically the more it's that way. Now, remember, the opposite is also true. Okay? So if the BZ is going to the north, like it is right here, it will have an opposite effect. It's not to say that we're still not going to get into storm level. It just, our magnetic field is going to be able to handle it a little bit better. Okay? So I would just point that out. Now you can see, and this is why I said, you know, you can see when this geomagnetic storm started. When I say there's a data point, that's exactly what this is. It's a point. It's a dot. Just like your TV. They line dots up, right, to make images. So when the dots are about the same reading, if the data is the same reading, they'll show up in more of a solid line. Now, when things start to fluctuate, which is what we get, what I call popcorn, is this stuff, right? And it's a really good indication that we're getting hit with something. Or something's changing. Something's, you know, solar wind is, maybe we're getting a coronal hole stream. Maybe we're getting a small CME somebody didn't see. Or whatever. All that, this is just another clue you can look at to see if we're having space weather. It's important. This BZ especially. I've seen us take a very, very dense hit with the BZ in the positive and not even get to storm level. So that's it. That's the effect that can have, guys. Okay. Now, when we're talking about density and speed, typically if they're both on the rise at the same time, you can pretty much say, hey, that's a pretty decent hit. We're getting ready to get hit pretty decent. Because if you think about it, if the speed goes up, what's that doing? Here, I'll show you this particular model over here while we're doing that, because it'll help me explain it to you. Okay, this is the magnetosphere model. Again, that's our bow shock, guys, or it's trying to represent that. The sun's off to the left, and the bow shock is simply just the first line of contact from space weather in our magnetic field, okay? That's essentially what it is, basically. Now, this is just showing you velocity and all that. But when you get higher velocity, what tends to happen is it takes more of the density out because it's grabbing more particles and it's flushing it on past Earth. Okay? In other words, they're getting out of here quicker. So they don't have time to build up. So why I showed you that, well, I guess I could take you down here and show you well, that's magnetic pressure, guys. And I know everybody understands pressure, so that's why I show it. But you can definitely see that, you know, stuff was kind of building there, okay? Now, and that's current right there. But, well, as current as we're going to be able to see. So anyway, if we're going up in speed, it's going to flush the density out a little bit. So typically when the speed goes up, the density is going to go down on like a normal type of day, I guess you could say. But if it's a CME or a very strong coronal hole stream or any of that stuff, they'll both move up at the same time. And that's why I pointed out, because it's a good indication, hey, we got something hitting, getting ready to hit pretty good. You know, that's really one of those things we look at. It doesn't necessarily mean we get the storm level either. I'm just saying it's one of those things we look at. And so when you see the density go up, the speed typically will go down. We see it so much like that. Now, again, it's not 100% like that, but it is the majority of the time. So when they both move the same direction at the same time, especially up, and you see the BZ going into the negative, maybe the polarity of the solar wind flips, which is the phi angle right here, and the temperature starts going up. You can pretty much say, we're getting hit with something. We need to pay attention, right? And they all start moving at the same time. You can see it. It's very clear. Okay? So what we're going to be doing here, guys, is we're just going to be waiting. We're going to see if this ends up hitting again. Their forecast is showing us a G1. You know, when you look at these blasts, and the reason why it's not saying G3 like at the beginning, because that's what they were forecasting. G2, high G2 into G3 levels. It's because of the exact direction. They didn't have the exact direction yet. And I was waiting on that too. And I had talked to some people in the background, and I was telling, hey, I think we're going to get to a G3, maybe even G4 if this stuff really lines up like it could. And I didn't come out here and say that because I wasn't 100% on that. But it's just conversations we have, right? I mean, so anyway, what I'm saying is, this is not a direct hit. These are glancing blows. And matter of fact, the glancing blow probably on this particular hit right now is probably done. And we're going to get the wake, just like a wake from a boat. You're going to get the same thing with this. So you get a hit there from a glancing blow, and then the wake afterwards kind of follows after that. That can actually put us into storm level also. So that's just what I'll say, guys. And again, guys, I know it's late. Thank you for guys popping in. Thank you for the gifted memberships, Kay. Anybody that got those, love you. Adam, thanks for being here, brother. I really appreciate you when you stop by. Thanks for getting everybody over here, too. Always shouting me out and just being a great friend. You and Dex both are great people. And Matthew, thank you. Same to you, brother. Guys, if you guys don't know, please go over here. I can't say it enough. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to... Okay, so what I'm going to do is go to my channel. We'll go here, and we're going to drop this in the chat, okay? You, brother. Y'all hear that? Okay, so here is his link. And I will put Adams in there, too. Adams is right at the top in my description box. Ron's here, too. Guys, earthquake stuff. Get over to Ron. Great guy. Hey, Donna, what's going on? Man, girl, Matthew. Thank you, Matthew. I appreciate you, brother. I really do. I appreciate you as a person, number one. Number two, the work you do is just, yeah. It's crazy. Moderators, thank you. Thank you. Hey, Stephen A is our newest moderator, guys. So, yeah, give him the old blue wrench salute. And any of the channel members, guys, I will be doing a members-only stream tomorrow. I did get most of the addresses to send the cards out that everybody won. So I will be doing that. That's probably going to get sent out in the morning. So, guys, I do have a family, just so everybody understands. And I do get really busy sometimes, unexpectedly. Hey, Miss Dragon, guys, get over and check her channel out, too. See, guys, there's so many good people in this community that I can't shout them all out. I forget people every time. And I mean every time. People get on me about doing that, and I get it, right? Nobody wants to hear me come on here and just start shouting people out day after day after day. And I feel like sometimes I do that, and I got to get reeled back in. And that's why I have an awesome channel list. And Mark does something really good over there on Marfugal. He has his website, and he has the friends list and the moderators list. So that way people can go there and see us. And he don't have to, like, you know, he's over 200,000 subscribers over there. So there's absolutely no way he could just sit there and keep shouting people out. Ilea, Rip, Trinity, guys, Trinity's doing an awesome job. It's just, yeah. For sure, Matthew, for sure. Deep Quake Paul. Guys, he's over in Matthew's live stream almost all the time. He's very intelligent, guys. Yeah. He's been very generous with the membership gifting also. So remember that. Okay, guys? He just, yeah. So anytime you guys get a gifted membership, I want you guys to understand when that gets gifted out, us as channel owners, we have no control who gets those. What happens is they will give it to the person that's been most active in the chat. And a good way to get that going for yourself, I'm just saying this, is to hit that heart on the bottom there. It really does. It like instigates the algorithm and stuff for you guys. So that's what I'll just say. Anyway, guys, I want to go ahead and pop off. Thank you guys so much for being here, being so awesome like you always are. Anybody didn't shout out, I apologize. I wish I could remember everybody. So, anyway, God bless. Yahusha saves, and, yeah. You can drink this Kool-Aid.